This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. The FDA has just approved a whole new concept in food safety, one that may prevent millions of food poisoning cases a year.
It started here in this atrium, a simple yet intentional conversation between Dr. Timothy O'Brien, founding director of UAMS BioVentures, and Carl Rosenbaum, now chairman of Safe Foods Corporation. Little did they know that that conversation set into motion a vision that was going to change the global landscape of food safety, and that the company's founders would set into motion a vision that would ensure a safer food supply for the world. It wasn't easy in the beginning, but here's the story of how passion for this vision came to fruition and continues to grow in momentum, opportunities, and number of servings safely provided to consumers each day.
The hope is Secure will soon be approved for use in beef, seafood, and pork as well, ultimately making the nation's food supply much safer. This simple solution to a serious health threat could truly be considered a breath of fresh air. Elizabeth Caledon, CBS News, New York.
1998, I was on the Arkansas Economic Development Commission. And what we did, we went around the different companies and government agencies to give them money. And so we decided to go out to the med center and early one morning, and there's a fellow sitting over there, and Dr. O'Brien had a beard and looked like Santa Claus. And I said, "Oh, what do you do?" He says, "I guess I run this place." And I said, "What do y'all do here?" He said, "Well, we take PhDs, and they come up with solutions of problems, and they present them to us, and we find out if they're economically feasible." And I said, "What are you working on?" He said, "I'm working on, let's see, prostheses for breasts, prostheses for faces, and we've got this chemical called acetylpyridinium chloride." "Well, what does it do?" And he says, "It kills bacteria." I talked to Dr. O'Brien, and he said, you need to look at this, Carl, because we need somebody that could take it and take it commercial." And I said, "Well, I need to have somebody that I can rely upon to do it." And Curtis Coleman, my son-in-law, and Catherine, they were in Fayetteville. And I called Curtis. I said, "I've got a situation. I don't have time to look at it. Would you come down and look at it?"
And Carl called us and said, "You need to come look at this. This has a lot of potential." And that was about the time of the big hot dog recall from Sara Lee plant, Bill Maher's Sara Lee plant. I forgot how many people died from listeria contamination, and that was in all the newspapers. It was headlines, and man, we put those two things together as a real opportunity to take a look at a possible solution to those kind of problems. We saw this as an opportunity to build a food safety company, and which was different, and it was also expansive because we were first looking at the acetylpyridinium chloride technology, CPC, and we were going to purchase, and we did purchase the rights to the license, the patents for CPC as a food safety intervention. But we felt like that was just a building block, and that we could build a food safety company that would be a lot bigger than just CPC's application. And so every time I start the phrase, and people watching this video, if they're going to hear me say a cadre of synergistic food safety interventions, I said that so many times when we were building the company that everybody who was there starts grinning immediately when they hear the word cadre. But that's what we were going to do, and that's what thankfully Safe Foods has done, that there is a huge multiple of food safety interventions, and CPC just became kind of a cornerstone technology that we were able to build a food safety company on. We also knew that food safety was a global problem, that in fact one of the things that moved us into building the company was the fact that 5 million children under the age of 5 years died every year in the world's developing countries because of contaminated food and water. And we felt like we could make a real impact on that. And so this was an opportunity for us to do well while doing good. And those are rare that come along in a lifetime. So we saw this as an opportunity to make a real impact on the health and welfare of people all over the world.
When Curtis and Carl first approached me about coming to Safe Foods, it was something that grabbed me right away in terms of the dream of what Safe Foods could be and what it could accomplish.
The challenges were just screaming at me, but the opportunities were very profound.
The problem that we had then was to get people interested in using it, and the industry was not interested in using it. And so then about, a couple months later, we decided to go up to talk to FDA and USDA. And we sat there, and the chemist who made the decision said this is a no-brainer. It's been used in scope for 50 years, mouthwash for 50 years. So we came back from that meeting feeling pretty good. And then they changed the procedure of testing. So it was, 6 or 7 years later, and a lot of money through those early years that we had to bite the bullet, so to speak.
The first few years were okay, and then we got to where we had a lot of delays with FDA and waiting on that kind of thing, and so it was
There was no money to manage.
very stressful because the payroll would come around, every couple of weeks or so, and we were wondering how we were going to make payroll, and that's very stressful.
One of the main challenges was, will we get paid that day on payday? Or are there going to be invoices coming in that we know, oh, okay, we have invoices coming in the mail today, so we're going to get paid. And everyone was looking forward to the mail every day.
But we got to one payroll and we couldn't pay anyone. Didn't have the money to pay anyone. And so I called a company meeting and told them that, and said, and I don't know when I can pay you. I said, it will probably be in stages and we'll roll it out, but we'll keep you posted. We were able to pay quite a few people actually the very next day, and then on through our priority. But the support that we had from the employees was moving. No one left. No one complained. They just said, we're part of the team.
I think one of the reasons that Safe Foods has been really successful as a company is the employees all have a mentality of how can I help my coworkers succeed in their job as well. I have not met a Safe Foods employee yet who is just so stuck in their own job that they can't see the needs of others to succeed as well. And so that's something that I love about the Safe Foods culture, and I think that Safe Foods has kept that mentality incredibly well with all of the growth.
You know, a lot of people talk about core values and what it means and all, and I guess my favorite thing is that Safe Foods really believes and does what their core values say.
When we spend the time focusing on building that culture and commitment, it just becomes embodied in each person. And as we enjoy working with each other and living that out on a daily basis within our team, it just naturally overflows into the way that we serve our clients as well.
I saw the progress we made. I saw the people we had were great people. We had a wonderful board and very loyal shareholders, and we were starting to make progress in terms of changing our business model from selling per bird to per gallon. And that was we were seeing some improvements in our margins. We were seeing some additional sales. So it was all coming about in a way where I really felt like, even though we had those challenges, the opportunities were there to take advantage of.
One of our customers started saying, we can do this, this, and this, and Safe Foods doesn't have that. And we're like, oh, yes, we can do that. So Chris said, well, can we do this? And we're like, yeah, we can. So we took it, what was then called CPM, and ended up being branded as Mark. The development of Mark started with the need to remotely support customers. We went through some hard times, which I'm sure you've heard about, really skinny there, but things started turning around. I would say the era of the Gen 3 and the secure systems coincided a lot with that and the USDA regulations, which allowed us to get more stuff in the plants, and it just always like the perfect timing of things that started going good after that,
So initially, as they presented their data and showed me that what the performance would be with Secure, we were all skeptical a little bit. Is this really something that's going to help us, or is this just, like I said, another dog and pony show? So we decided that we would move forward and try it. Chris Coleman, actually, who's now CEO, he and Rob Baker and some of the older guys come by and just kept, being persistent. Rusty, we really need you to try this. And so I was the first Pilgrim's plant to ever try it. And we put it in initially due to the new standards by USDA, which had gotten much more stringent. And, we had to try something. And so we said, what the heck, let's give these guys a try and see. And, with the agreement that if it didn't work, you get your toys and go home. And so, fortunately for me and Safe Foods, it worked really well. So.
Well, I think one of the greatest lessons I've learned is that God is faithful. I think over and over in the history of Safe Foods, we've seen Him provide for us right at the moment that we needed. I can't count the number of times that Curtis called us to prayer when he could call almost the whole company to prayer, either in the room here and on the phone or like that, to pray about the needs of the company. And God always provided at the right time.
And we were able to overcome it. And as Catherine said, we had frequent days of prayer and even days of fasting in our company that was entirely voluntary. But we don't have a shadow of a doubt that the company survived those moments and other moments only by the grace of God.
At the point that we're at now, we've really got the team in place. We've got the process in place with the new conveyor process, and we're getting ready to have this brand new facility that gives us a whole new level of capabilities to continue the Safe Foods legacy of innovation and developing new solutions for the industry that started with Secure and Fresh Light and has led to things like Mark and a lot of the equipment that we've built as well. So just continue to build on that reputation that we have for innovation and technology development.
It's kind of bittersweet for me in that my part of the journey is coming to a close, because as I finish up this building, I'll be moving into retirement. But in another way, I think it's part of a new beginning for Safe Foods. It's a continuation of the journey that we've been on, but it's a defining point in terms of, it's almost like a new beginning. It's what I've been telling some of the new people that are coming on board. It's like a new beginning of what can be accomplished and how we can even fulfill the dream of Safe Foods in an even greater manner. So,
from my eyes, I just really appreciate that Safe Foods is constantly assessing where we're at and looking to the future and wanting to change in a really healthy way, instead of saying, we're doing this really well, and so let's stick with what we're doing and let's not think about the future. That's just not realistic for healthy growth. And so I think that they focus on growth and the future really well, but they're also very involved in the present.
I will tell you also, I still believe Safe Foods is still just embryonic. I think Safe Foods is just now coming out of the shell and just now starting to be what it can be and what it's going to be.
Just like our company founders, what relationships and conversations will you build that will ensure our vision carries on into the future?